What am I going to do? I have no idea how far it is back to camp. Sun's going to go down soon. Damn it, I don't know where I am. It looks like I'm have to wait here until somebody comes and rescues me. But at least I have this little mini survival kit. Let's see what's in it. There should be something here that'll help. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so we've got a little multi-tool. Okay, good. It's going to rain soon. I need to find some shelter. I don't know. What am I going to do? A whistle? Well, it might come in handy. A compass. What am I going to do with that if I'm stuck here waiting? I don't know what direction I'm going to go in, so I can't go walking hoping I'll come across somebody, so that's really not going to do me much good. Okay, a wire saw. Well, what am I going to do with that? How's that going to keep me alive until rescuers come probably tomorrow? I can cut some wood, but why? There's plenty of wood on the ground here that I can use. If I was going to make a fire, I need to make a fire. Whoa. What am I going to do with that? I can't make a shelter or a fire with that. I can't see how that's going to keep me alive. And that's all that's there. How am I going to make shelter, make a fire, keep warm tonight when it's going to be so cold? What use is this? Why would they call this a survival kit? So all I have to keep me alive is this drink of water, and that's not going to keep me warm. It's not going to help in any way. It's not going to keep the rain off tonight. What's the point of selling these to inexperienced people who might get lost in the bush? And that's the trouble with these inexpensive small survival kits. They don't contain what an inexperienced person who's just gone on a day hike is going to need, especially if the nights get cold, they get hurt, they're going to get wet, and you know that wet and cold don't go together well if you're going to survive. What if it takes 3 days for people to come looking for me in this area? These shouldn't be sold. Now, as you can see from the tone of this video, I'm angry at the people who sell these miniature wilderness survival kits. They're pretty much useless for what they're designed for. Let's start by saying, why do people die in the bush? There are two reasons people die in the bush. Two top reasons. One is falling and injuring yourself, or dying, but falling and injuring yourself by maybe tripping down an embankment, off some slippery rocks, just tripping over and breaking your leg. It's really easy to do, and you don't have to be far from a road or civilization to be caught and need a survival kit to keep you warm and going until you get found. The other top reason people die in the bush is exposure. Well, I suppose it's two reasons: thirst and exposure. With exposure, it could be exposure to heat or to cold. Now, this little kit, as we've seen, as with all the small kits like the sardine tin kits and this one here, it doesn't hold the things that you need to keep to help you if you're injured, or to help you if you're being exposed to cold and wet and heat. As far as thirst is concerned, well, there's really not a lot you can do about that if you're not carrying water with you. In the bush here, there's no water to be found anywhere. You can't, the type of vegetation here doesn't give off enough water to keep you alive for a long amount of time if you do the traditional water collecting techniques. It's winter at the moment, so there are some puddles around, so you can get water that way. But even if there was water close by, if I didn't know the area, I could just walk in the wrong direction and never find it. Which brings me to who buys these kits? Who are they aimed at? Experienced people make their own kits with the products that they need for their particular circumstances. So these kits are for beginners, for people who have never been out in the bush, done proper old-fashioned camping. Maybe they've just camped overnight somewhere or gone fishing. They're for inexperienced people. And a kit like this doesn't help an inexperienced person. It's really easy to say, well, they should know what to bring and what to do. But the fact is, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they should do and why. So it's up to people who make survival kits to make them to be suitable for the purpose they're made for. So I will show you the survival kit that I carry with me. Afterwards you can see the things that I've not got in it that you would expect that you'll see in other survival kits. But anyway, this is the minimum size that you would need a survival kit for, in a survival kit. As you can see, this is my mess kit that I take camping, that this has fed me for 30 years, which is why it's so grotty and blackened. But inside is my survival kit. It goes with me everywhere, even if I'm going just on a couple of hours exploring through the bush, like most day hikers who get lost. Hikers that go overnight, they don't tend to get into trouble unless they get injured, simply because they already have their shelter and food and that with them. The main people who get lost, who get hurt, are day hikers, people who just go out for a bit of a stroll along the tracks, exploring, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they're the sort of people who need to carry a kit with them, as well as their sandwiches and drink. But anyway, so let's get started. Here, look, around here, there's nowhere where you're going to find enough water to catch fish. But just in case I was somewhere, I've got one of these little survival cards. They actually do work. They're not just a novelty. It has little fish. Let's just get it out. In this bag, there's also a few baits and some hooks and stuff. Generally, fishing is not my thing. I don't often go anywhere where there's fish, and if I was lost, really the places that have enough water for fish, like rivers and the sea and that, are close to human habitation anyway. But anyway, so just in case, I've got this survival card. You can get lots of different sorts. This one here has a fork in it, which you might use, a little arrowhead, but it has a number of fish hooks of different sizes. Now I usually have a spool of thread in here too, but it doesn't seem to be in here, and yes, I know, if you use something you should replace it, and I haven't done that, my bad. I will do that when I get home. Okay, next we've got some string, 6 metres of string. You don't want less than that. You need string to be able to maybe tie up your shelter and tie it down. And a few band-aids, alcohol cleaning pads, and a large bandage. And with that, remember, most people get hurt by falling down, which is why they need to be rescued. You should always carry a roll bandage, whether it's one of these stick-to-yourself bandages or a good quality elastic bandage. Both of them have their pros and cons. In this one, I've just got one of these stick-to-yourself bandages. I have some matches and a small ferro rod. You don't need a big ferro rod if in an emergency kit. You're only going to need to light a couple of fires at the most. Honestly, people get lost in Australia all the time. You just don't hear about it. Most of the time they get found quickly because they're in an area with phone reception. But for the most part, if you get lost, you're going to be found within 48 hours, and mostly within 24 hours. So you don't need things that are expensive equipment that's going to need to last you for years. So I've got a small ferro rod, a few water purification tablets, some matches, and a whistle. Whistles are good if people are looking for you. I have a muesli bar. Never underestimate the value of things to keep your spirits up. And because I have a tin which I can boil things in, I also have an instant soup packet. I have a little cheapy multi-tool. You don't need a knife in a survival kit. I spent 20 years living in the bush, and you know what my knives were pretty much always used for? Things like cutting string, cleaning out my fingernails, maybe a little bit of whittling, cleaning small game, small animals like rabbits and that. Things that don't need an expensive knife or a big blade. In a survival kit, you're really only going to be needing to cut your string. So a little multi-kit like this with one little blade on it is enough to do that. Now these little multi-kits come in, there's a number of places, that sell them, and they come in various grades. This one here is a much better grade than the one we've seen in the little survival kit here. But it doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter. The one in here, if you squeeze it too hard, it'll bend the handles. But anyway, so I've got that. A lighter. If you're going to make a survival kit for beginners, give them a couple of ways to make fire easily without experience. So lighters and matches. Usually survival kits don't come with lighters because there's postage regulations, so you can't post them. So add your own. Some tinder. A little waterproof container with, I use cotton buds with some petroleum jelly on them. Really easy. being experienced, I can easily find my own tinder even in wet weather, but inexperienced people can't. Most importantly, a survival blanket. These are cheap and nasty, but they'll keep rain off, they'll keep wind off, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you get cold as long as you're not wet. So the two major things that a survival kit should have is, well, the three major things. An easy way for a beginner to make fire, because a lot of beginners can't use a ferro rod. They've never done it. They just don't know how. A bandage, a roller bandage, because it can be used for a lot of things, from sprained wrists to helping with broken bones. You can even use it to tie up your arm if you've got a sprained shoulder or a broken shoulder. But anyway, a survival blanket, definite need. These little silver ones are fine, but when I do survival courses and people go away with a survival kit, they have one of these more expensive, bigger survival blankets. Well, this one's a survival bag, which is orange. And because it's orange and it's big, it's easier to signal aircraft with. And lastly, a little, oh, damn it, you know what this is. Oh, damn it. Don't you hate it when easy words just fall out of your head? But anyway, look, honestly, if you're experienced, look, I can easily tell the direction, compass, that's the word, direction by looking at the sun and knowing round about what time of day it is. But beginners can't do that. So, but in saying that, like I said at the start, a compass really isn't that useful, because if you get lost, you sit and you stay put. You don't need a compass. You're not going anywhere. If you go somewhere, you're less likely to get found. Anyway, so that all fits nicely in my survival kit pan here. Now, notice the things I don't have in my survival kit. I don't have a torch. Waste of space. When you get lost, night's coming, you're going to huddle down somewhere, you're not going to move. If you need to pee, you get up, walk a couple of steps and pee and go back in. You don't need a torch for that. A signal mirror. Yeah, if you've got room you can put it in, but a signal mirror is great if you're out in the sea, if you're in the desert, if you're on the top of a mountain. As long as it's not a cloudy day, as long as there's no trees and hills around you, as long as if you see an aeroplane looking at you, that the sun's not behind you. Look, if you do tend to go walking in the desert and that, sure, take a signal mirror with you, but for me, I stay in the bush here. A signal mirror is pretty much useless to me. One thing I do like to carry with me, but it's not in my survival kit, is some of these tablets, like this one's from Aldi, vitamin tablets you put in your water. The thing is, if you do find water and it doesn't taste good, this can help you drink it easier. So I like to carry those, because if you try and drink water that's too nasty, you're likely just to spew it out, and that's a really bad thing because you're losing more moisture that way. So let's see, I think that's all for today. can't think of anything else to talk about on the subject. So basically, to sum up, people who make survival kits really need to up their game and make it for people who are beginners, who are inexperienced, who actually get lost. Unfortunately, from what I can see, the people who make survival kits, especially these small ones, have never actually been lost. They don't know what it's like. What I don't think people who make survival kits realise is just what it's like to be lost in the bush. They've never been lost themselves. They don't understand that when you're lost, you get anxious, you get panicky, and you stop thinking. You're not able to think about how to use things. Possibly, well, especially for the Chinese made ones, they've never probably even been out in the bush, even just camping. And you can tell. It's easy to tell. A lot of these kits are just basically stuff all the small items you can in a small container, whether they're useful or not. And that's just not good enough. You need to make them fit for purpose. And when I send people off with survival kits, there's one really important thing that I put in their kits is, I forgot to bring one today, I left it at home, I made some today, is a I'm lost bingo card. I print it out and I laminate it and put it in the kits. All it is a card with 5 by 5 boxes in it, and in each box is an activity to do to either occupy their mind or things that they need to do. And they can tick them off with the marker that I have in their kits. And it stops the anxiety from getting too much, the panic, and it gives them something to do that's easy to follow, not like those sets of instructions you sometimes find in these kits. In these boxes could be things like make a fire. They're not instructions on actually how to use each item in the kit, because people will see that and they'll see what they can use in the kit. Make a fire, make a shelter from rain, and things like find an animal track, or hear a kookaburra, or things like make a walking stick. Just things that either they need to do or things that they can occupy their mind with to keep them sane, basically, until help arrives. Stop them from panicking and taking off, which is so easy to do. If you've ever been lost, the first thing that happens is your mind stops working. You stop thinking. All you want to do is find something familiar, so you start walking. In any direction, your mind stops thinking about where you're actually going. You start walking in a direction, you start walking faster and faster, you start jogging. All your mind wants to do is find something familiar. I've been lost. I've been lost a couple of times. Thankfully, I've never had to be rescued. But if you're inexperienced, it's really difficult to bring this under control if you've never experienced it before. And it would be really good if people who made survival packs and that actually understood what their kits are actually meant to do. Okay, so that's my rant over. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.